everybody. Come on in. And yes, Maggie's okay. She went to the dentist and she had one big tooth removed, and she had some bottom ones that were real squiggly. Poor Maggie. But anyway, she's fine, and I was brushing her teeth, but with the wrong kind of toothbrush. I had one of those rubber things that have little bristles. Apparently you're supposed to use a baby's toothbrush. So now every night before bed she gets her teeth brushed. Don't you? Yeah, and she likes it when because it's meat flavored toothpaste. so when after dinner and I get all her stuff out to brush her teeth, I say, "You gonna get your teeth brushed? Are you gonna get your?" She licks her mouth, doesn't she? Yeah. Okay, so that's enough of Maggie. And now you guys, you know what? I never think to say, "Gee, thanks for all the likes," and. I just never think about it, but I was kind of reminded that I do thank you, because that's the part that makes this enjoyable for me, because I get to communicate with you. So thanks for all the comments and the likes, and I'm glad to have you with me, and it's days like this that I'm really looking forward to it, because it was a garage sale morning this morning. And we went out, and we're usually gone an hour, maybe two. We're always back before noon. And we never rush out. We make sure we have our coffee and our breakfast. And then off we go. But today, you know, we've had fairly nice weather, and we've been getting our projects done. And then all of a sudden, this cold front moves in. And up on the hill where my mom used to live, it was snowing on the ground. It was freezing. I wore like a windbreaker, and it was cold, and it's so nice to be back home, had lunch, had a coffee. Oh my goodness. So I don't know what your weather's like, but it was crazy. So anyway, it's nice to be here, and it's nice to have you join me. And what are we going to do today? This is the orchid that I bought in February, and it was in moss from the grocery store, and I haven't cut any flowers off. I think I cut a few off since it started, but I left it in bloom, and I've left it like this because today I want to explain to you that it went from moss to bark, and it is a change, and I've talked about that many times, but now we're looking for the growing season. And I'm going to cut the spikes off, and we're going to take it out of the pot. It's been in this pot since February, and we're going to look and talk about how it looks and what's going on and get ready for the growing season. So we're going to do that. And in the back here, these orchids have been in bloom since the end of December. Some were in bloom sooner, and some just in the beginning of January. So these ones are looking at 4 months, and some of them, I think the two in the road cone, are still getting buds. They love those road cones. So, but these are two. They've already flowered once, and they've got lots of leaves, so they decided to send out some extras. And I decided to let them. So that's 4 months with flowers. Why do we love orchids? You wonder why I am an orchidholic? Because you get your orchid. And really, if you, they plan on you throwing it away. But really, you don't pay. You can buy a cut flowers in a big handful of them for $30 for Mother's Day, let's say. And they're dead in a couple weeks. You can buy an orchid, and if you're smart, You take it out of that moss and you put it in bark, and you can have them for years. And when they flower in your home, you know when those flowers started and you know when they're ending. And you know that you've got like 4 or 5 months of beautiful flowers that you've raised on your own, and that's why we're an orchidholic. So, we're going to discuss a few things, and we're going to look at this orchid. So, the first thing I'm going to do is take these spikes off. Now, yeah, we'll do that first. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim them near the base, because unless this orchid has been with me for a number of years and it's really healthy, I do not want to let it flower again. And it will not. This is the kind of weather where the days are longer and warmer, supposed to be, and it's signaling the plant to be in a growing season, to get roots and to get leaves. So nothing is going to signal this to send up a new spike when I cut it an inch or so away from the base. It's not in its DNA to do that. Maybe there's a type of orchid that is, but the Phalaenopsis from the grocery store, it's not in their DNA. Now, some people want to leave them, and we don't go into that anymore. We all have our own things we've studied. We know we can make a choice on our own. So I'm going to cut these off just a little over that bottom node. I'm just going to cut it off and pull this out. So there we go with that one. And the same with this one. I'm going to cut it off. And there's one flower left here that's not too bad. So I always keep my flowers that are going. I saved this one for you, but I always keep them trimmed, because even an orchid flower will set off ethylene gas, and what will happen? It keeps encouraging the rest of the flowers on that spike or a nearby orchid. It encourages it to do the same thing. So ethylene gas from fruit or anything ripening will encourage your orchid to die up. So as you see, there is a little bud on this one. I'm not leaving it. I'm not keep taking. I think they look straggly, and it's just my preference. But this little orchid here, I'm just going to trim off again, and I'm going to put it in. As you know, I have this centerpiece. It's actually made by a local artist who's retired, but it was a tea light holder, and it had tea lights like this in it. And one day I thought, and you can do this with any fancy tea light holder you get, because you see some really nice ones. And you could use a small glass vase, anything tiny. So what I did was, I took the little tea lights out that were just sitting on that, and this was cut off an orchid quite some time ago. I think this bud might even open. So I'm just going to add this one to my little vase. And I'm having much more fun with the little vases in the tea light holders than I was with the tea lights. And I have a couple amaryllis bulbs that were still left, and I stuck them on the side. And I still have an amaryllis, I don't know if it shows up, but it's way in the back. And it's the last one still in bloom. So we've cut them off, and I always save these because these are handy. So I make sure I save them. So there. Now the next thing I do is I always use the cinnamon, and I keep some in a separate little thing, and because I don't want to be using my cooking one. So I always take that and put it there. Be careful when you're doing this that you're not letting it fall onto the bark, because we don't want to dry out the roots, and it will. That's what the cinnamon does. It will dry it out. So just on the end for preventing disease. So I did make a butterfly. It's glued on a chopstick. And it's just a butterfly from the dollar store that I used a glue gun and glued on a chopstick. And I put the name on the back. And I called it Yellow Bird Pink Flash because it was yellow with a pink flash in the center. So that's how I named it. Now, what we're going to do, watering day was, well, I started out with watering day on Thursday. And then we were trying to figure out what day we were both able to work on our big boulders in the front yard. So Wednesday was looking like a good day. So this was our first day of going out to cement. You know what? And I'm not calling them boulders anymore. I think I'm going to call them sculptures. So the first day of going out there and trying this, we have learned lots, which I'll get into on another video. But I am going to take pictures as we go along, and I'm going to put them on my community channel. So if you go to Jacqueline's YouTube, which Jacqueline's is Jack, my husband, Carolyn, mixed together. That's how we did Jacqueline. Oh, there goes somebody with a bag of bark. Whoops. We bought a bag of bark and it just went outside. So anyway, that's how we call Jacqueline's. It's a mixture of our two names, which I always forget to say. So when I do these videos, I never, I don't make like something I'm following or reading from. I just pretend you're like my daughter or somebody's come to visit, and we just are going to talk about it. So anyway, what I want to do now, I forget what I was doing before. He just threw me. So what I want to do is, what have I told you about changing from moss medium to bark, or any media change to another medium? The roots that are on the orchid in the moss, they've acclimatized themselves to moss. Now, what happens when you change to bark is they have to grow new roots to acclimatize themselves to the new medium. So, suggestions. If you're just getting into orchids and you live somewhere where you can buy from somebody, I don't sell orchids, but somebody like me, excuse me, in the media of your choice, an orchid. They can tell you how to look after it. It will not go through a potting change because they've already had the stress. They're raised in the greenhouse, and there's thousands of them on the greenhouse. So they're in the market to make money. More than anything, that's what they're doing. So they don't use the best moss when they put them in the moss. They force them to spike lots, branch off. They force them into different patterns of growth and development with air conditioners, heaters, shade cloths, nutrition, whatever they have to have them all do the same thing at the same time, and then they go through the stress of leaving their home, going on probably a truck or something, to where you get them. Then they end up in a store beside an open door, and there's people that know nothing about orchids looking at. They have had a lot of stress, and you get it. And this one looked very good on February the 2nd when I brought it home from the grocery store. And the flowers I've left on this long. They didn't fall off. You don't know how long it was in blossom before you bought it. So I can't say it's been in 4 months like those. But we do know that now we're looking at the growing season. This is a good time to get your orchid. When you look for an orchid, if you don't have somebody where you can choice your medium, and it's like here, the only place you're going to get one is a grocery store. You're going to get it in moss. I suggest you put it in bark. That's my main suggestion. And yes, it'll undergo changes, but in the end, it will be easier to look after for our climate conditions here and in the home. I don't have a grow room where I go, where I have a huge humidifier. They are living with me, and you can still do this. Now, we've had our humidity drop to like 30, and right now it's up to like 70. You just don't know. But if it's real dry, I'll mist the air all around my orchids, maybe a couple times a day, and I have my cool humidifiers on. So when you go buy that orchid, look for aerial roots. Aerial roots, and this one never had any, but Mom really liked this one. I didn't get one with aerial roots because she really liked this one, and that's the one we tipped. But if you can buy one with an aerial root, the aerial root is still in air. You're not changing the media on the aerial root. So you want as many aerial roots on the one you buy from the grocery store as possible. Why? Those aerial roots can keep your orchid alive while it's growing new roots. And usually that's what I do. I like aerial roots. So look for that and look for a healthy plant. And repot as soon as possible. Okay, let's see what we've got in this pot, how much the roots have died. I can go back to the same medium, and let's just see, because I've left it in bloom all this time. So I'll just dump it out. It's a little damp in the bottom because watering day, oh, that's what I was talking about. Watering day was Wednesday, but we had to go make our rock. So I decided to water Wednesday afternoon. Well, Wednesday was one of those days. Have you ever had one of those days? Because Wednesday we had trouble putting our cement on. It was a struggle, and we thought, this isn't working. Now, we don't give up. It's just like life. If you have troubles, you don't give up. You're driving your own vehicle. You are saying you're going ahead. You reassess everything and you go on and you make a better plan. Don't look back. Even in your life, don't look back. There's nothing good back there. If you want to just remember something for a while, remember it and get over it. Life is now. Yes. Enjoy. And what's coming forward. You're making your new life. So, this was watered Wednesday. Now, not all the roots are going to die. But this is how, sometimes if you take your plant, and the leaves are a little floppy now, it's had no aerial roots, it's been in this pot since February, getting watered once a week. Now, these are the roots that I've lost. And what I have do is I pull them. Now, I'm not going to worry. Not all of them. Do you know what ones are going to survive? These are all going on my floor. So these are the roots that have not survived. This is not, this is common when you're repotting, changing medium. This is common. And that's why when you look for your orchid, look for one for aerial roots. This was a beautiful orchid, and it will be again. Now, why have some of them stayed? Now, if I put water on these, they would be fine. I won't put there. I just like to do this now. I'm not cutting them. Anything that's soft, because these have died off. Now, so if it's a good idea if you've kept you've repotted and it was in flower and you left it in flower, but about the time those flowers are dying off, you want to go back in and reassess your plant. Now, do you know why? Now, if I was to put some water on these, let's see how quickly it happens. I'll just put some water on for a minute. I want to explain something else. Okay. Do you know why not all the roots are dying off? That some of them are. Now, orchids are slow growers. So all those stresses I was talking about and the poor media, they were affecting that plant before you got it. And quite often the ones that die back first are the ones from the center. That's where most of these are from. They're from the center of the orchid where it was so compacted, and usually because it doesn't get any air. And it's not necessarily that it's because of overwatering. It is, but the real problem that's killing the orchid and is affecting it when you get it, but you don't notice it right away because they grow slow and you don't see the effects of what was happening. But that quite often when you repot it, you notice, oh, in the center it's thick. What else do you notice? They're air plants. There's no air getting in there anymore. The moss is no longer fluffy. Yes, you can grow in moss. It has to be fluffy because it needs air. Those roots need air. Even if you're growing waterculture, you're going to take it in and out. It has to get the oxygen. And this is why the majority of these roots I've just taken off are from the center of the plant. So don't panic and say, oh no, this plant is dying. It's the bark. I'm changing to another medium. No. The ones that are surviving were nearer the surface. So they were getting more oxygen and more air, and they're going to survive. Now we know how much is surviving and how much isn't. And we're going to keep our eyes on this orchid for some time. And we'll come back after it's had its growing season. I usually move them out on the patio. And of course I haven't done that yet because our nights are so cold, they're freezing. Do you know our greenhouse has been covered since October? I mean, we love this country, we do. But it's part of accepting winter and learning how to cope with it. So, okay, I'm actually pleased with this. Now, aerial roots would have been better. Now you can, I've got all my dead roots on the floor. You can, there's nothing wrong with this bark. The top, the halfway down, is still moist from Wednesday afternoon because it was one of those days, Wednesday. So I thought, oh, well, we finished up outside. It wasn't going that well. We had to do some thinking, which we'll get back to you because it's going to be a work of art. It's going to be, I'm not going to call it rock anymore. I'm going to call it a sculpture. Anyway, it's the first one we've done. We're learning lots, and we've gone a lot since then. But Wednesday, we come in and it wasn't that great out there, so I thought, well, I didn't water Wednesday. I thought I'd wait and do it Thursday, but I thought, well, it's afternoon, I'll water afternoon. So I'm doing my watering and got my music on, and I always take the big row cones in the back to my shower. Now my shower is the smallest shower you can possibly have, and the door just opens enough that I can get in, and they just barely get through the door, so it's not a big shower. So I put them in the shower, and quite often I just hose them down, and I sometimes leave the nozzle sitting on the top, just running through to make sure, because bark, when you're watering bark, if you just took a can and you went like this, bark doesn't wet. The only parts of the bark that's going to get wet is where the water goes straight down. So when you're watering and you're not soaking in a bowl or something, you have to make sure you're getting all of the roots. So anyway, I left it spraying, and I came back out here, and I don't know what happened, because I got busy, and I go in there, and the nozzle had jumped off of the orchid, was shooting out the doorway, and my bathroom was flooded. Oh my God, so I'm throwing all the towels and I'm cleaning. I quickly cleaned all that up, got all the towels wiped up, and I thought, because Mom's bathroom is right below my bathroom. I'm thinking, oh no, because this is in the middle of a watering on a day that was not going that well. So I run down the stairs, and I say, oh, hi, Mom, I just want to check your bathroom. So I go in her bathroom. Water coming out of the vents, coming out of the air, the suction thing, and the vent. Luckily, there was vents, because it was only a little wet around the vent, and everything will dry because summer's coming. And so more towels, cleaned up all the floor, cleaned up both rooms, and we survived. Everything's fine, but you know, it was one of those days, and I had to tell you about it. So anyway, this bark is still, I'd say, it always dries the top down, even though there's lots of air holes in the pot. So the ones that are getting less, so sometimes you could mist a new orchid, not heavily so that it's getting a full water, but enough to keep it a little bit. One extra day, not every day. You could mist just the top. Say if your watering day's Wednesday, Sunday, you could do that. So anyway, I've got the same bark. There's nothing dead in it. I've got it all on the floor. And so we're going to put some more in. And then next watering day, I'll be starting to give it some, I haven't switched to, come the heat of the summer, come June, I'll be switching to a high nitrogen first number fertilizer. But right now, I have my, I showed you the last one. This I've had since I first started, get 15, 18, is it 18? Oops. Because this is for all over growth, and especially even that last 18 is all over health. So this is good. So I'm using that until it gets hotter yet and they're out on the patio. Then I'll switch to high nitrogen. So I'm going to take this. Now, remember, always look for aerial roots. They're awesome. I love aerial roots. So there we go. And I'm going to put the bark in. And it won't get watered again until sometimes I switch between Wednesday and Thursday, depending on what we're doing. We got cement all over the first rock, and the next coat will be the final coat, and there'll be some color going in, and wow, just hiding all the rocks because we did the chicken wire, and just, it's going to look good. In fact, the whole thing, we've got some really good plants, so I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll share all our advice we can with anybody that wants to know too, when I do a video on it. But I didn't even open the greenhouse today. It's so cold. And we went out and we cleaned, took the pond, emptied it, put the fish in buckets, cleaned the whole greenhouse. Is so spotless. Things are growing like crazy out there. And until this weather smartens up, they're happy to be there. So, this is going to put all its energy to, to those that say, oh no, you cut the spike off, now all its energy is going to go towards growing a new spike. No, it's not. The energy is going to go towards roots and leaves. Two ringy dingies. Somebody's going to get it. There's other people. So all its energy is going to go towards that. It doesn't want to grow another spike. If I left the spike on, there's I think one video, I gave a description of an article I'd read and told everybody they could go read it. And there's little chemicals or microorganisms inside the spike at each node. And that, what's in there will keep telling that orchid to send out more flowers, more flowers. That is using up energy. So if you don't have a 100% healthy plant, I don't believe in doing that. I take them right off. I want all the energy to go to the leaf and roots. So.
Yeah, and so you got that one. Was there another one you were selling, your truck or something?
There. So anyway, we've done good, and thanks for joining me, and I hope you're having a good day. And remember, you're in the driving seat.
Yeah.
Don't look back. Look at the day. Start a hobby. Enjoy the beautiful things in life, and keep smiling.